When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome back to another episode of the Wrap Up, where we're discussing all the things A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We are a little bit late, but we're finally back to talk about episode 4 of said show. And joining me to do so is Evan Harris.
Hey, it's not our fault. They dropped on Friday instead of Sunday. You know, things change. People are busy.
Blame the
on
Super Bowl.
weekends. Blame the Super Bowl. Exactly. Go Seattle. Congratulations. And Bad Bunny. Great stuff there. But yeah, this was a phenomenal episode. I hadn't watched it yet, but Edgar messaged us in the group chat this is the best
First time
episode.
in the morning.
So I was like, oh damn. So it's the first time ever going to work and having to avoid spoilers. But man, oh man, what a fantastic euphoric episode. I had my brother and I just cheering in the living room. Great shit. Definitely the best episode of the season, but instantly jumps into one of the best Thrones, universe, Song of Ice and Fire episodes you'll ever get here. It was a very heartfelt, emotional, thrilling episode. It really had it all. So I can't wait to break it down. And then next week might be even better. Could be. It's going to be a banger. We'll see. Jalen and I, we always watch the Next Time On, and there's a shot of him putting on the helmet and the camera zooming into his helmet as he embraces the field. I'm like, oh shit. It looked crazy. So I'm hyped. I can't wait. I love a good battle. I love a good joust. So hopefully things go well on Sunday. But we're here to break it down this episode, and there's a lot here. I have some notes, and let's get started.
Let's get started. What's first on your notes?
Dunk depression era in the in the cells here, which, given what we see next time with the flashbacks, looks to be very similar to what he was probably born with. In terms of humble, bad beginnings in Flea Bottom. That very small cell for Dunk. And I just felt instantly bad. I'm like, oh man, I would feel so betrayed too, Edgar. I would feel like, man, I got played by somebody less than twice my age. Which it's just so unfortunate. Because we've grown to love Egg and Dunk so well. Just last episode, we got into Egg's dreams of being with Dunk for the far future, and then now that's potentially shattered in this early onset of the episode.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been talking about this show is that brotherly relationship between the two, and how in many ways Egg almost feels like the older brother, even though he's obviously the youngest of the two. But you finally do get that proper relationship of kid and adult, of that back and forth that they two have, with Egg saying I didn't mean to lie, I didn't mean to hurt you, but Duncan immediately clocking it in and saying you knew that you were lying, you knew that it was bad. If what's the actual quote? If you weren't lying, if you didn't think you were doing anything wrong, you wouldn't have done it to begin with, something along those lines.
Exactly.
And again, it's just so pure, because it feels like something that anybody with their siblings, if they have siblings, have been through in one way or another. And again, just that moment of Egg in the corner, kind of sitting down, with the teary eyes, and in that second, Duncan almost like taps back into like how Sir Arlen used to maybe treat him of like, oh, like dry your eyes, like kind of like tapping into like toxic masculinity, even though like Duncan very much is not that. Um,
No,
but again,
he's
he's trying to protect himself, trying to use Sir Arlen's personality and his teachings as a shield in a way.
for sure. And we see how much the shielded it is because in the next scene, all this quickly dissipates. But yeah, it just engrossing myself in this scene. You're totally right here. Like it really comes into older brother, younger brother, like a little bit of a put down. And Dunk is right. Like you did lie to me. If you knew what you were doing was bad, you would have told the truth, a long time ago. But you knew it was bad, so you lied. It's just it is what it is. And Egg is a child. He's very young. He's immature, and he's gonna lie. And he made this huge, huge, huge mistake. But again, the friendship, the brotherhood between Dunk and Egg is so pure already that despite Dunk, like you said, being, carrying some of Sir Arlen's not even nasty habits, but just like, berating Egg, rightfully so. Because again, he's just full of anger and disappointment and upset. Just look at him in his rags in a soaking wet crate while Egg comes in a cleanly fresh red and black uniform, the uniform of Dunk's oppressors. So it's like it's a really startling change up here for Dunk. But yeah, just that visual of Egg in tears. What a phenomenal performance from Dexter in this episode who plays Egg. So thrilled throughout this entire episode for him. But yeah, and this is probably my favorite performance from Dunk's actor as well. Great job.
Peter and Dexter, this is like their best work yet so far in the show.
Easily. But also we get some great work from my man Baylor here. Egg goes back to Baylor, and Baylor kind of like carries the baton from Dunk in terms of berating Egg, like, oh, why'd you do that, man? And that's why I like Baylor so much, man. Baylor is such a like, and I said this, and Jim was like, I don't know, but like maybe I said it on podcast, but Baylor is giving Tywin like a less awful Tywin. Tywin's one of my favorite characters ever. I love Tywin.
It's kind of like the Tywin and Ned Stark type of blend,
right? Like Tywin is so by the book, right? Like he is by the book. He's a very cruel person, but he's by the book. He's by the letter of the law sometimes, and he just does it. It is what it is with Tywin, and that's kind of the same way for Baylor. Like it is what it is, as we'll get into with the Dunk scene. But when he's talking to Egg here, it felt very like it was trending on Twitter the other day. But just Tywin talking to Arya, like it kind of gave that kind of thing where it's like Baylor is just like telling Egg how it is and how wrong Egg is. Like, hey, you better apologize. It feels so weird for the accused, or not the accused, like the accusers, Targaryens, the one, like, the same family as Aerion who arrested Dunk. It's like also you have two of them, Egg and Baylor here, siding with Dunk in a lot of this. It's very fascinating. But yeah, I really like this whole Baylor and Egg scene because we haven't seen Egg, be with the Targaryen family before this scene. It's a really weird change of pace. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, and again, like the whole brotherly relationship between Egg and Duncan, where Baylor is like, oh, and what does he say? Like, don't spill or something, where he's like pouring the cups or whatever. And Duncan immediately goes to his defense, like, he's a good lad. He won't spill.
Edgar, I was losing my mind because, like, we just finished talking about how Dunk was being so mean to Egg. Again, rightfully so. But the minute Egg, like, you know what, I got to go talk to Baylor now. And it's like, oh, shit, he's going to, if I'm Egg, I'm like, oh, shit, he's going to continue berating me to Baylor now. Excuse me. And then when he goes to Baylor, Dunk instantly gravitates back to like, hey, he's a good kid. He didn't mean it. He instantly starts turning into like older brother positive mode and starts like relinquishing some of the blame that Egg got. Like, hey, it wasn't his fault, X, Y, and Z. And that was really surprising. I was like, oh wow, what a great switch up. But it felt so natural too, because that's just how Dunk is. He says these mean things. 5 seconds later, okay, Egg, it's okay. Like, because I think he really, after that scene, he really understood that Egg was like extremely genuinely upset and genuinely wants to be his friend, maybe even more than that. So I think Dunk absorbed that, and when he went to Baylor, he really got into that as well.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about this later during like the climatic moments of the episode. But I think one of the key components of the back and forth between Duncan and Egg during these opening scenes of the episode, one of the things that Duncan tells Egg is like, "Oh, like you told like this monstrous lie," but he immediately almost starts defending him once Baylor starts kind of like scolding him. But like one of the things that kind of like caught my eye, that again we'll talk about it later, is the fact that I think deep down, even though it hurts Duncan, part of him can't really judge Egg because he might be lying himself about something about his knighthood.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into it later. We'll get into it later. But
sure. It's in my notes
but,
as well. I have a question.
Yeah, but sticking with Baylor's here, I really love that it's not Duncan's idea, and it's pretty much the same in the book. It's not Duncan's idea, it's not Egg's idea to do the trial by combat. It is Baylor's idea, and here, right there, and then it shows you what kind of ruler Baylor would be as a king. Of like, yeah, this guy is a member of my family. He is my nephew, but also he kind of like broke the law. Like he is being reckless. And I, even though like he never explicitly expresses his disdain for Aerion, I feel like a lot of people feel the same way that as Egg does in the family, even his father to an extent later on in the following scene. And so I go back to the scene from last week's episode, from episode 3, where Egg is like screaming like, "Oh, kill him," referring to, you know, Humphrey killing Aerion. Yeah. And I just start wondering if does Baylor kind of want to get rid of this kid as well, but he knows that if he does it himself, it's gonna look bad not only on him but on the family. It's gonna be like kingslaying. So he not only is he trying to help Duncan, but also maybe utilize Duncan to kind of like do his bidding of getting rid of this very dangerous person in the family. I thought all of that, like, it's very fascinating.
It's very fascinating. I never got the chance. I never got the thought that like Baylor wants Aerion dead. But I think everybody realizes that Aerion is extremely annoying and just like brash. Even Tywin, like again, going back to Tywin, Jamie, right? No, what the fuck is his name? Joffrey. Tywin Joffrey. Like you can bet Tywin really wanted Joffrey not to be king. Like this guy sucks.
The second that Joffrey died, he immediately attached himself to Tommen because he knew that it would be easier to manipulate Tommen than it would be with Joffrey.
100%. So, like, it wasn't a bad thing, but you never heard Tywin being like, Joffrey's got to go. So much so that he used the whole death excuse to get rid of his other member of the family, Tyrion, Father of the Year, Tywin. But yeah, so it was, I never got the sense that Baylor was the off Aerion, but like, Baylor is a very, again, letter of the law. He's very respectful to the law, the religion, the rights. So he really supports Dunk's like earnest knighthood, mindset. Like he really supports and understands that, which is why he supports and eggs him on, for lack of a better word, with the trial of combat. It makes a lot of sense. And it's like, hey, go ahead and do this. If you do it, that's cool. But like, I don't think he really wants Aerion dead. But it is the thing is like, I did have a question we'll get into the trial of 7. I'll just say it right now. My main question is the trial of 7 and I guess the trial of combat. Trial of combat makes more sense that like, okay, one of you has to die. Right? The trial of combat. It's like, it's not like you cut off, or maybe if you cut off somebody's hand in the trial of combat and they can't fight, does that an auto win or do you have to kill them? I don't know how it really works.
I believe like I think for both cases you can kill your opponents, but if by any chance during the trial by combat one of them is losing and if they yield, then that's automatically like a lose to them. So I don't think you necessarily have to kill them, but as long as they either give up or die of their wounds, you're good.
That's my question. exactly, and that's my question for the Trial of Seven, where I'm like, okay, man, this about to get really messy. The first thing I forgot to mention, the first thing I have in my show notes is like, do we have another Targaryen civil war happening right after getting like House Dragon with the Dragon between Rhaenyra's camp and everybody else against Aemond, and then we have the Blackfire Rebellion, and now we're getting Maekar versus Baelor. It's like there's a lot of things going on next week. It's like so much Targaryen fighting. If I'm the king right now, I'm pissed. I'm like, what is happening there at some random jousting tournament? It's getting crazy. Can you hear me, Edgar?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're cutting off a little bit, but I think you're fine right now. No, like I mean, there isn't just one Blackfire. Oh yeah, there isn't just one Blackfire rebellion. There's more than one. One of them takes place during, I believe, during the Dunk and Egg novellas down the line during their history. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's fascinating, and I think it's very much calling back to Targaryen conflicts within the family, this Trial of the Seven, even though it's not strictly just about Targaryens and going against Targaryen. It's more complex than that. But I think it's, if you're getting any parallels, I think it's kind of like purposeful.
Okay, yeah, it's just extremely interesting how we're already getting Targaryen infighting in a spin-off show. It's like every show, every universe, there's going to be some kind of Targaryen messiness going on, and that carries on with this show. But yeah, like so then we had Dunk announcing the Trial of Combat to Aerion in the follow-up scene. This time we have Aerion, Maekar, Baelor. I don't know if Egg's in the room, but we have like the Ashford people as well. And this is where Dunk announces it, and then this is when Aerion announces the Trial of Seven. And this is mainly, I think it's clear as day, because Aerion can't beat Dunk one-on-one. Like Aerion's like looking up at Dunk like the Mount Everest. Dunk, we haven't seen Dunk fight hand to hand. I wouldn't be surprised if Aerion has like more experience or skill, just because he has like access to it growing up in that lineage. But Dunk's like 250. He got a lot of weight on Aerion, and that carries a lot of weight in a fight. So it could go either way. And I think Aerion's like, I'm out of here. Bye. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, even last week, the way that Duncan just threw him like a sack of potatoes just tells you a lot about how that fight would go.
Yoink. Exactly.
But yeah, with I love how Aerion is trying his best to look cool in front of Duncan, like smashing the nuts with the knife. It's like you're trying to be intimidating, and it's kind of like just making you look like a douche and not so much like actually intimidating. But I do think it's maybe a little bit silly that somebody like Maekar wouldn't know what the Trial of Seven is, given that the last time that it happened was also relating to the Targaryens. But it also, I can see it from another perspective that Maekar is like way down the line of succession, so why should he even like study history? And he kind of gives that energy within like the first episode that he's in. But also, it was a very long time ago since that Trial of Seven happened. A bit of a history for you guys. Last time there was a Trial of Seven, it happened during Maegor the Cruel's rule, and it happened because the Fate of the Seven militia was against his rule and against him practicing incest and marrying multiple women. So they basically challenged him to a trial by seven against seven, and at the end of the day, everybody died except for Maegor. He was like in a coma for like a couple of days or weeks, but he ultimately won that challenge. He killed everybody from the other side, and everybody on his side died. So that was like what, maybe like 200 years before this. Maybe,
Shit.
no, I don't know. Wait, maybe like 100 years, maybe 150, something like that. I forget. Um, but yeah, so that's the last time that something like that happened, and to me, it would make sense that somebody as prideful of the Targaryen dynasty, like Aerion is, would know about it and would want to try to like maybe replicate that and make himself maybe look as imposing as somebody like Maegor did back in the day. So and obviously, like you said, it is very much him cowering behind like other people, and using his brother Daron as an excuse of like, oh, his honor was also damaged too. It's like, yeah, right, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But also part of me, I think the main gist as well is that like Arian doesn't think Dunk can even get 7 people. So regardless of like, hey, my 7 can beat your 7, Dunk, Arian's also probably thinking like, hey, wait a minute, Dunk probably can't even get 7. I win without even having to move a muscle. So that could be a big thing as well. Yeah.
and again, I love how Baylor and Maker kind of like look at him in disgust, like, are you like hiding behind other Six Knights? Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's very funny because like Mankar starts whispering loudly to Arion, like, "What the hell are you doing, bro?" It's like, Mankar, do you think your son can beat Dunk? He probably does because Mankar is a very prideful person by looks. But like, Mankar, you should know your son's probably gonna get his ass kicked by Dunk. Like, do you want your son to lose? It was very funny, but I get why Mankar was also upset because it's very absurd and cowardly in the first place.
And after this, we basically get a bit of a video game style side quest of Don going through the ranks of the tourney of the pavilions, trying to like recruit people to his side. We get that scene with I forget the order of how things transpire here, but
we
we
go
get that
to
scene.
he goes to the horses in the rain first, which is a very sad scene. Raymond was there, very sad. This guy's getting soaked. I love me some rain in movies and TV. Dunk is getting soaked, sitting there getting soaked, talking to his horses. Raymond comes up like, are you talking to your horses? Like, are you good? Yeah, like, I've seen better days.
Yeah, I do love one of that element of the show of him talking to his horses, because not only does it show you that he cares about nature and people, but it's also a really smart way of externalizing in dialogue his inner monologues in the books. He's just like talking to himself in the books, and a lot of what the show is doing is just having him have those inner monologues, but he's just talking to the horses.
That's really cool.
It's a very simple change.
Yeah, I really like that. But also, you mentioned how it showcases Dunk's proclivity to horses, animals, nature, etc., which is in stark contrast to what we learn in the next scene about Aerion, who, I'm fast forwarding a little bit. We'll go back, but like we see Egg come in during the tent with the Fossways. Egg comes in later, and Egg's talking about Aerion killing cats. I'm like, if you want, a textbook, hey, this guy is a weird fucker. Killing cats is probably 1 or 2. Not just like, hey, if an author wants you to know this guy is bad, he's either eating an apple or he's killing cats. Like, you're a dick. So very, very bad look on Aerion, and especially what he was doing to Egg, like torturing him in bed. Like, this is some crazy shit. Now we see some more context behind Egg wanting to kill Aerion, like really badly. But by the way, like I forgot to mention, but like I like the notion of Egg telling Baylor, like, I really want to kill him, and Baylor was like, hey, whoa, like we can't go killing, no brother on brother violence. It's against the rights of the 7, whatever. But it's so funny that Baylor says that. Less than a day later, it's like Baylor versus Maekar in the trial of 7. I'm like, you were just talking about no brother versus brother, and now you're on the opposing side of Maekar. What the fuck is going to happen? So it was just very funny on Baylor's end.
Yeah, it's two things happening there. One is the whole taboo thing of kingslaying, that it's not only a thing within the Targaryens, but just in Westeros in general. You see that a lot also in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. but also the whole "one must love their brother" line. I don't know. Maybe it's you can tell that Baylor is like a history man, and maybe that's just him trying to prevent another conflict like the Dance of the Dragons. Um, and I think it comes from a place of understanding, but also let's avoid this type of conflict again in the family.
Exactly. Oops. But yeah, but before that, we had Dunk go back to the tent with Raymond Fosway. What a great friend. You mentioned up top at the beginning of this whole series of podcasts that this relationship is one of your favorites from the book. And I'm starting to agree with you. Like this Raymond Dunk relationship is very heartfelt, very earnest, very sincere, in contrast to Stefan Fosway, the opposite of sincere. Um, but Raymond and Dunk have a very good, again, probably like brotherly, just a very hardcore friend vibe here. I really like Raymond, and he goes even above and beyond my expectations by the end of the episode. Um, but great stuff there, and Raymond is the one who introduces Dunk to, not introduces, we saw him in the pilot, but like we see more from Stefan Fosway, who I was like, oh shit. Okay, cool. We got one easy. Let's go. I was shocked. I was shocked by the end of the episode. But having now known the context of the end of the episode, everything that Stefan says is a lie. Do we think Stefan was courted by Aerion before this talk? Do you think he was lying to Dunk about everything in this conversation? Or did it happen the night before or the night after this conversation with Dunk?
I feel like it happened right after, and it was probably a case of Stefan going to Aerion and not the other way around. Because he probably saw it as an opportunity, and like even like he says it like in the morning after of oh, he's gonna give me a lordship if I do this for him. So I'm pretty sure, like in my head canon, I guess, it's kind of like Stefan negotiating his own deal with Aerion, and if he doesn't get anything that satisfies him, then he's just gonna stay where he is and fight for Dunk inside. But well, I mean, we know how that story goes, and he eventually got what he wanted, or at least he thinks he's gonna get what he wants.
That's a great guess. In rewatching the episode, excuse me. In rewatching the episode, it seems like I had the other idea where it's like, okay, maybe Stefan Fosway, the brother that betrays Dunk, maybe he was lying the whole time, because when Stefan says like, I'm gonna get X, Y, and Z, he mentions people like the guy who farts at the tourney, who was like an asshole. And he also mentions like Lionel Baratheon, and Lionel's like, I never saw that guy. Granted, that sentence can still hold water if it happened after the fact too. But I do believe that, like, yeah, either way, he went to go see Aerion first, because Aerion is not like lowering himself down to find a random Fosway. I can easily see Stefan walking into Aerion's tent being like, your lord, I'll fight for you, you know, can I get a reward? And Aerion probably like, yeah, sure, here's a whatever, here's what you want, fight for me, sure, whatever, I don't care. Because yeah, I can't see Aerion actually coming to this random guy. But it did fool me. Because the guy sounded so like locked in. We had just heard last week how the Fosways, especially Raymond, hates Targaryens. They're incestuous aliens. We heard all that jazz. We hear Stefan kind of echoing those sentiments. So it just kind of added up. It made a lot of sense. So I was shocked. But that's when we do get what's it called? That's when we do get Egg arriving with the drunken Darren, who we had last seen in the first episode at the inn, where Egg was seen and Egg follows Dunk from the inn. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of of Darren already. He has like this cool lackadaisical attitude. He is an a-hole for like lying to his family about Dunk kidnapping Egg, because that was kind of the excuse that we kind of talked over it, but like, yeah, that was Darren's excuse, being like, hey, Dunk took Egg from the inn. I was going to go to the tournament, but somebody took him, whatever. Egg's version of events, the truth was just that, hey, Makar, I think Makar was the one that really wanted Darren and Egg to go to the tournament, right? It was Makar, or was it the king? But either way, they have to go to the tournament. Makar. Yeah, he really wanted Darren and Egg to go to the tournament. And the funny thing is, like, Egg, as we see, wanted to go to this tournament. He really genuinely wanted to be a squire, but it was Darren, the one being like, hey, I'll shave your head, and we're not going to the tournament. And they were just going to hide out at the end until Egg has other plans. But yeah, I really liked Darren's whole interactions here. Very cool, very suave, but he's an asshole at the same time. So very funny, very fun character to like.
He very much reminds me of like season 5, book 5 Tyrion, of this down on his luck, drunken character. But if anything, this is more of a tragic characterization of that, because as we learn in the first episode very briefly, but also even more so in this one, in episode 4, Darren is haunted by these dragon dreams, these prophetic dreams that he keeps having, and the only way that he sees those dreams like fading away is by just drinking himself to an early grave, basically. And you see how much of a torture that can be for somebody like Viserys in House of the Dragon. We see that a scene between him and Alicent and outside the camps and the fire, in front of the fire, him talking about how he thought he was doing the right thing by following his dreams, but it only resulted in the death of his wife and his child and all of that. So it really does like emphasize like this tragic thing with the Targaryens, again, like we talked about last week, of we know what's up, or we think we know what's up, and we have an idea of what we need to do, but we just don't know how to get there yet. And one of the cool things that the books imply, more so than the show, is that a lot of the dragon dreams come from the dragons. And when the dragons were alive, there weren't a lot of dreamers, but those who dreamt were like, pretty spot on. Like Daenerys the Dreamer, Aegon, obviously with Viserys. We're seeing a little bit of that with Daemon in season 2, more or less. But that's more of like other people giving him visions, not so much him getting the visions. Yeah. And one of the things that a lot of people that in the fandom talk about with the books is that after the dragons die and there isn't really like a place where the dreams come from, or the dreams can be stored within the dragons, a lot of the dragon dreamers in the family like multiply. Darren is one. Aerion essentially becomes one too. I mean, he genuinely believes that he is a dragon himself. So what is that type of mentality going to lead him to do later on in history? We'll have to wait and see. Aegon, Egg eventually becomes one as well. There's theories of Rhaegal, and obviously Daenerys in the books, more so in the show. Again, she is very much a dragon dreamer, and it isn't until it's almost like the eggs in Game of Thrones in the books are like sending her the dreams of how to basically crack the code of how to bring dragons back. So a lot of the dreams that all of these Targaryens like Darren are having right now in this point of history, it's almost like the dragons giving them clues of how to bring them back to life, which is interesting. Again, it's something that the main show never fully explored, but like all of these spin-offs with House of the Dragon and now this and Night of the Seven Kingdoms is like slowly reintroducing into people's like psyche. So I mean, it's very interesting, and we'll see if any of Darren's dreams become true of how I forget exactly the way that he phrases it, but
yeah, he says there's a large fire, a dragon with wings so large it covers over Dunk and the entire field. Which is,
who is that referring to? We'll see. Tune in
next time on Dragon Ball Z. It sounds massive, but your whole description there is extremely, extremely fascinating. I would have always thought it would have been the opposite. With the death of dragons, less dragons to cause dragon dreamers. But you're saying it's the opposite, which is so fascinating. That's very, very intriguing. There should be a whole book about dragon dreams and all the implications there. Because
Fire and Blood, baby.
Oh.
Read it.
You know what? I think I might actually have that book. Interesting. Thank you, Edgar, for the reminder. I really do got to read that book. Before season 3, baby. But it's so fascinating with the whole dragon dreams, because it does paint this very funny, lackadaisical, like, hey, please don't kill me, Darren character in, as you said, a more tragic light. So very, very, very interesting. I can't wait to see more of him. Great performance from the actor as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned already in your description there beforehand, I forgot to mention it, but Egg does say that Aerion carries himself as a dragon. You know, we see it with the armor, and Egg is describing Aerion as a bad brother, and in that description says like he also carries himself as a dragon, which is crazy. We also skipped over the whole Tanzel Baelor talk, where Baelor was saying like he felt bad for Tanzel, but just like the dragon thing was in like bad taste, especially because Aerion thinks of himself again as a dragon. A dragon dying in front of Aerion triggered something in this crazy guy.
Yeah, and that's an interesting change from the books, because again, the whole incident with Tanzel feels way more childish in the book from Aerion's whole perspective, because it literally is somebody just playing with puppets. It's literally a puppet show. But here, it's silly, but also like way more massive with the whole production of how the shows are being constructed, and how there's like a literal, like this, I'm assuming it's like a wooden dragon or something like that, spitting fire, and like seeing the image of the dragon, being killed. And in the books, it does come across as more like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But in the show, it's like, I don't condemn it, but also I can see why the family, the monarchs in this point in history would see that as kind of like anti-Targaryen propaganda.
For sure. Like, even Baelor was like, okay, I get it. I feel bad for Tanzel, whatever her name is. But it was also in bad taste. Like, killing a dragon here at the Targaryens come to town, not a good look. But of course, we're not blaming the victim on this podcast. I feel bad for Tanzel. We'll talk about her in a second here. But yeah, Egg says, like, he's going to do his best for Dunk. Darren says he won't fight much. He's not going to put up a fight. We have the Darren Dragon Dream conversation. We'll see what comes of that with big wings. So then Dunk returns to the wasted encampment of Tanzel, who we were just talking about. And we learned quickly that Tanzel is gone, baby, gone. She watched the Ben Affleck movie and she was gone. And I applaud it. I'm gone. I would have been out of there. You wouldn't have heard me. I would have instant teleportation. I would have been gone. And I like that. It's like, she's on her way. What was it, to Dorne? Am I correct there?
Yeah.
Good old Dorne. Who is, by the way, as you mentioned, that's the king's wife is from Dorne, right?
King Daeron, is it the first or the second? Basically Baelor's father.
Baelor's father.
So and I'll talk about the whole Dornish heritage once we get closer to the end.
Cool. So that was very fascinating. And yeah, it's a very sad thing. I do like this great direction, as we see Dunk going through this wasted encampment. It's full of like a lot of sorrow, and we hear a lot of whispers. We hear a lot of like quick flashes to the play that Tanzel was saying, like, the foolish knight, and you kind of it kind of begs the audience to like think, hey, maybe Dunk is thinking of himself as like a foolish knight. There was a thing in episode 2 or 3 talking about like, hey, all knight are men and all knights are fools, something along those lines. And you can see Dunk really, this episode in general is Dunk really grappling with the tenets of a true knight, while also lying in his own sorrow about like what those tenets got him into. Like, hey, I protected the innocent and now I'm getting punished for it. Like it's a give and take in this cruel world, and he's like really living in a lot of that sorrow. But he does get a great pick me up here as the armorer comes to give him the shield that Tenzel left for him as a gift.
And Steely paid, my boy.
What was his name? Steely paid?
Something like that.
Yeah. Great supporting character. Again, Game of Thrones, one of the rare series who does like minimal, small character with a big impact, which is always good in storytelling. And this was a very heartfelt scene as like Dunk is like grappling with like what it means to be a knight in his own like character. He sees the embodiment of like Dunk and Egg's ambitions right in front of his face on this shield with the shield, star and the oak, and it really hardens Dunk.
Yeah, doesn't he like start out that conversation by saying like, "Oh, doesn't like the tree look like it's dying?" Like kind of like, oh, it's not so much that that's what the shield is, but he's kind of like, what's the word? Kind of like putting his own state of mind into what he's seeing, of how he basically thinks that he's gonna die in the next morning, and that's what he sees when he looks at the shield. And then like it is Steely Paid who basically brings his back to his senses. It's like, no, like the tree is like blossoming, like it's standing strong, and there's like the shooting star obviously above of it, and it's just like this very heartwarming moment between the two, and that is even more effective at the end when Duncan asks like, "Oh, how much is it for the shield?" And Steely Paid says, "For you, 1 copper." That's like, wow, let's go.
Let's go. I love that shit. I also wrote down like the religious phrase they said here is "Oak and iron, God be well, or else I'm doomed to hell." It's a very very cool like knightly phrase to say. But again, it gets Dunk back in that mood because he was really wallowing in that sadness and sorrow. But it comes in here like, hey, no, this is what your sigil was all about. Don't forget what you created that sigil for. You're in the right here, Dunk, basically.
You belong, basically.
You belong, yeah.
And one of the things that I do like about what you mentioned earlier with Tenzel leaving for Dorne is that that kind of like becomes almost like a ghost-like relationship that keeps haunting Dunk in the books of like, I wish I could like come across this person again. As of right now, we don't really know if they eventually meet up again because I believe the second novella, which is the Loyal Sword or something, the Sworn Sword. It is mentioned that him and Egg were like in Dorne at some point, and one of the things that he was doing there is that he was looking for Tenzel, but he couldn't find her. So again, even though it might feel like a throwaway character, it's not only because it establishes this conflict between him and the Targaryens, but also because it is a relationship that he keeps looking back on that made a huge impact on his person.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I heard about Tenzel not appearing for a long minute now, and part of me thinks they might change that for the show. Granted, this show has been very, very faithful, but I think Tenzel has had a big impact so far. And I know I just talked about having small characters big impact, but I think it would be very cool to see her again in season 2. Maybe not like change the course of history, like keep the books the same, of course. I don't need her to be a ongoing character, but maybe he does see her in Dorne for a quick second, and then they say their goodbyes. Or maybe he sees her and she's with somebody else, and he's like happy that she's at least alive. So we'll see. You're muted.
This is the beginning of his yearner era.
I love a good yearner. I love a good yearner. So yeah, that ends the night. It's been a long night for Dunk, and the night ends, and I'm like, Dunk, you've done no campaigning. To get on my big brother, hill of it all. It's like Dunk is like on the block to go home. People are gonna vote him out, but he's not campaigning. I'm like, you can't just leave your campaign to Stefan Fossaway, who you just met, and maybe Egg. Like, you don't know what's really going to happen. Egg just betrayed you. Stefan Fossaway is a guy you met a couple hours ago. It's like, Dunk, I expected most of the episode for Dunk to go like from encampment to encampment to talk to people, but he writes in being like, "So who do I got?" I'm like, "Oh wow, you are lucky that Egg is the goat and came through for you. Otherwise, you'd been fucked." So that was just very funny. Like Dunk, you really did no campaigning. Again, he was just thinking he was going to die. But again, here we go. Now it's the following morning. The clouds are covering. It's very gray. It's very cloudy. Dunk comes in, rides in with his armor. I really like it. And we see each team. So do you want to name out the who is on Dunk's side?
So it is. Let's get the two Humphreys out of the way. It's one of them is Sir Humphrey Hardin, which is the knight that Aerion on horse, or basically kill his horse. And it is mentioned in that smallest exchange that he can't really fight on foot, but as long as he's on a horse, he'll be fine.
That was pretty badass. I ain't gonna fall, though. Like I ain't gonna fall. It ain't gonna be a problem, so I'm good.
Yeah, and then there's Humphrey Beesbury. You might remember that name, Beesbury from House of the Dragon, that little old man and the small cancer.
Okay, yeah.
So basically from the same family. I believe both of the Humphreys are not related by blood, but by marriage. They might be like in-laws or something like that. I forget.
That's cool. Yeah,
you don't really.
But that's really cool.
Yeah. You don't really get much from him. Not even a line of dialogue. That relationship between the two is a little bit more established in the book, but not too much. So it's fine. It's fine. And then we have our boy Lionel the Laughing Storm Baratheon. I love how he's like, I wasn't gonna miss doing this. It's the first time that it's happened in years, so I'm all for it.
Why is he Edgar? Why is he so cool? Can you stop being cool for like one episode? This guy's like effortlessly cool. He's like, I get a chance to like shake them up, like to beat on some guys in white cloaks. Like hell yeah, like why not? He's the best.
Yeah, and then we get Sir Robin Risling from that what was it last week's episode, right? Episode 3, where he encounters Egg about the horse and whatnot.
The guy with the eye patch.
The guy with the eye patch, yeah. I wish we got a little bit more, character, not development, but establishment of his reasonings. But I guess him saying like, oh, anytime the warrior, one of the gods of the seven, anytime the warrior asks to fight for the innocent, I'll show up or something like that, he says. So I guess that's enough for now.
So is he loco? Like is he crazy, or is he just like a very adamant loyal guy?
Yeah, I feel like he's just like very, maybe a bit of both, of very religious, and he kind of like guides his life through his religion. Okay. So maybe a little bit crazy and just very loyal. And then obviously we thought we were gonna get Stefan Fossaway, but he eventually does what he does. He betrays Dunk, goes to Arion's side, and this is one of the best moments of the episode with Raymond immediately offering like, knight me. I'll fight for you, essentially. And not only is he doing it because of his obvious bias against the Targaryens and the fact that he knows that what was done was wrong, but it also comes from a place of maybe embarrassment of he thought that he was helping Dunk, and then out of nowhere that help turns into betrayal, and there's nothing that Raymond can do but offer himself almost as a compensate. I don't know. I do think it comes from a place of like, I need to do something, and obviously I don't have anybody else to fight for me, so I'm just gonna do it myself.
I think you're right there. I like, as somebody with a brother, if I'm like, hey yo, like we're playing basketball after school, my brother's gonna play for us, he's the best. My brother turns out to be working for the other team. I'm like, okay, now I got a box. I gotta come in, give me the gloves, let's go. It's like I would feel so bad. So I really understood Raymond's earnest, like, hey, let me be a knight here. Please let me do it. And we also get, continue talking.
No. So no, I was gonna bring up what we were talking about earlier. Right now with the whole, is Duncan an actual knight or not? In the books, so it's interesting. The books never clarified this for you, but it's basically confirmed but unconfirmed. Because as Raymond asks him that, I forget if it's like a inner monologue or if it's something that Dunk actually says out loud, but he says something along the lines of, "If I knight you, I would be making fake knights." What does that
Mm,
mean? Like there you never get a like a clarification of what that exactly means from his perspective. Um, one could assume maybe he's saying it because he just doesn't feel himself to be worthy of being a knight, but it could be that, or it could just be the fact that he was never knighted. And one of the things that I find fascinating from this, from the way that it's executed in the show, is Raymond and Lionel, they're just like standing there like waiting for him to pull his
yeah.
sword and say the words. And even Lionel, I think he says like, all you need to do is say the words. And in my mind is, it's not so much that maybe Duncan doesn't, it isn't a knight, but maybe he doesn't even know the words because he never heard them. um
Yeah, like it's fascinating because we also get that scene later on, shortly after this, with Arlen being like I don't know, which is very short but very impactful scene for Arlen. Um, but yeah, like I asked this question from the very beginning, where I was like, okay, is Dunk even a knight to begin with? Because that was like episode one, where I'm like, hey, the show's the show's telling us that like Arlen isn't this famous knight. If he's not even that famous, did he even knight Dunk in the first place? But now we cut to this scene 4 episodes later now. Um, and yeah, like Dunk's excuse in the moment was that like, oh, he has to go like do something else. But yeah, maybe what the show is like giving to me is that like did Arlen, who was a knight, Sir Arlen was a knight, and I think he knighted Dunk, but not like, but in a very lazy way. Like he didn't say like the protect the innocent, the maiden, the citizen. Like he didn't say all those words. He was just like, yeah, yeah, sure, you're a knight, which isn't like official, but it came from a knight anyways, so it might as well be official. And for Dunk, he carried it in his heart as it being official. So I think that's like the biggest part there. But yeah, I don't think he knew the words bar for bar, not at all.
which is fascinating, right? Because the show keeps telling you, keeps arguing, making this argument that Duncan is more of a knight than a lot of these other noble knights who are
Yes.
actually knighted, who actually are known, who actually have a reputation, and yet none of them live by the vows that they take. And whether Duncan is a knight or not, he is actually living by those rules, which reminds me a lot of Brienne, which is a descendant of Duncan, later on in Game of Thrones, of of
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, of Brienne not being a knight, although until like Jamie knights her in season 8. But
Great
even though
scene.
she's not a knight throughout the show, she's more of a knight than a lot of these other men across Westeros.
For sure. And that's what makes this episode, this episode is great because the ending's freaking amazing. But like what makes this episode so like thematically rich is everything that we're talking about here. Like Dunk is so genuinely carrying in his heart the tenets of a good character, a good person, and a great knight in a place, in this setting that is full of like knights jousting. But when Dunk comes to profess, like, hey, we just need one more person. And we all saw how they all witnessed Aerion be a horrible person literally a day ago. And now I'm screaming for just one night out of like possible, like at least 10 or so people. Nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. And it's so baffling, but it's so also just the more quiet we hear the audience who should be siding with Dunk, the more quiet they are, the more it just uplifts Dunk as like a truer knight than they will ever be, both in terms of bravery and just protecting the innocent. And it's just so powerful. He says again, his actor Peter, right?
Yeah.
Just the entire speech was just fire. Like the entire sequence as we get Lionel Baratheon knighting Raymond in the background as Dunk charges in. Like it is so enriching. Like it is so beautiful. The score is already coming in a little bit as Lionel's like knighting Ramin. Dunk's fired up, ready to fight. And then it cuts out because they don't have enough people. And that gives Dunk just another chance to, like, again, plead his case to everybody about what a knight really is, what a knight should be. And can anybody stand up? Can anybody help me out here, please? And one person did stand up, and I was like, yeah, I got fooled twice this episode. I'm an idiot. Like, usually I'm smart. I'm catching things. I fall for Stefan Fosselway being, lying to Dunk. I didn't see that coming. And then one random guy stands up for Dunk, and I thought it was going to be like the whole cliche of, like, one guy stands up and they all stand up. It's like, oh, yay. No, the guy just stands up and just farts in Dunk's face in front of his kid. I'm like, what kind of example are you showing for your kid? You a-hole? Like, oh, I was so mad.
Of course, that was a Bracken. I remember it was a Bracken.
What a surprise! George, tell us how you really feel about the Brackens.
We know how he feels. He prefers the Blackwoods, but for some reason, the show House of the Dragon season 2 kind of like made it seem like as they're like more innocent than they are.
Yeah, both sides.
Both sides.
But yeah, and then we get the scene of all scenes here. The scene of all scenes. The gate opens, and I'm like, who is that? Like, I thought that was like I thought it was gonna be Valar or whatever, but no. Baelor Targaryen unlifts his helmet. I'll fight for Sir Duncan. Lost my mind.
I didn't cry, but it did that entire scene, the way that it's executed did get me very emotional, because again, something that the show, whether you like how it opened or not, with the whole poop joke scene in the first episode with the music coming in but then cut into a gag, I think it was such a smart decision to save the theme of Game of Thrones up until this moment, because again, on a principle level, it is very much an example of nostalgia baiting, but it is an example of how you do it in the good way, the right way, of not only is using this song, this theme, the right thing to do here, because it not only does it reinforce the place that the characters are, but thematically, this whole thing about valor and honor has been something very prominent in the show, and we haven't really had the music support that up until this moment, when the music finally roars into its crescendo at the end with the whole thing with Baelor, and then Duncan like kind of like going back to his side, and then it cuts back to black, and the music just soars. And again, it's just phenomenal the way that it's all really well executed.
The production value was absolutely incredible. People have been saying online that when Baelor says "I'll fight for Sir Duncan," that is like this, like obviously ADR. I didn't catch it like on my first time. On rewatch, it does sound ADR-ish, but it's still like, it still gets me freaking hyped. It's very funny how this came in the heels of the Super Bowl, because this is just like the most crowd pleasing, like I literally stood up. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was losing my mind. I was so happy. It just like, it gets you so pumped with the music coming in. You're again, it's nostalgic baiting at its finest, because the music comes in, your blood is pumping, your heart is already waiting for somebody to answer Dunk's call, and it's the person who is the uncle of the antagonist here in Baelor towards Aerion. It's just fascinating, incredible. My jaw dropped. I was so happy.
And it's no coincidence that maybe you thought that it was Valar at first, because I believe in the book, in the novella, it is mentioned that Baelor doesn't have an armor with himself with him, so he just borrows the one that the Valar was wearing during the journey. I don't know if that's the actual case here that's happening, but I don't know. We can just assume that that's the case maybe here as well, because the armor does look very similar.
Also, we can make our great line from Makar. Did your senses leave you, or mind your senses, brother, or something along those lines? Yeah, it was great. It's like, your senses leave you, like that. If I'm Makar, but that's my son. Like, are you trying to kill my son, dog? Like, What's going on here? Like, what are we doing here? What's happening?
Yeah, and something interesting that we're gonna see next week is that, the song that Egg was singing like an episode ago about the what is it, Baylor, the Breakspear, and the Anvil, or something like that. How these two are right now in this point of history, they're very iconic warriors, and now those iconic warriors that were once, on the same team fighting the Blackfire Rebellion are now gonna be on the opposite sides fighting each other. So how does that look like?
I have no idea.
So there's that point, and then also, again, even though people have resentment towards the House Targaryen right now, even them are like, oh, Baylor is here, like finally an adult.
Exactly.
Even the common people in the Smokeful love the guy, which not only says a lot about himself as a prince, but how he would respond and how he would rule as a king when the day comes. So there's that, and then also something that we mentioned earlier with the whole Martell stuff. I don't think it's a coincidence that this moment reminded me a lot of offering himself to be Tyrion's champion in season 4. Because again, even not only is it similar in what happens in context, but also Baylor is a Dornish descendant. He is half Martell, so that parallel is purposeful as well.
Both very righteous.
Although I will say probably Oberyn's case comes more from a place of revenge, whereas Baylor is very much like, this is the right thing to do.
For sure. Man, I don't even know if I should do any like death predictions. What kind of show is this? Like, this is a very like comedy drama kind of show. Are we losing Aerion next episode? Is that how Dunk survives? Are we losing Maekar, Baylor? Darian seems safe. He says, I'm just gonna bow out, like probably play possum, play dead. Lionel seems fine. I don't think Lionel's gonna die. He seems like a baller. I just don't see this, how this can possibly end without Aerion dying. But he's such an interesting antagonist. I feel like we need more of him. How did this end? I have no idea. Dunk has to survive. Cool, but anything is possible besides that. And that gets me very excited. I need it to be Sunday, guys. I need it to be Sunday badly because I have no idea. And Edgar just smiled at me because he knows what happened.
I do know that. But yeah, wrapping things up here. Any last thoughts? What are you looking forward to?
Again, yeah, just as I said, those I have a lack of death predictions. I have no idea. I'm just gonna go in excited to see what happens. Maybe get some cool reaction shots. And Darren's dream is hanging in the ether as well. Like, what does that entail? I guess like the big dragon wing. It just seems like the big Targaryen presence is like. But that can mean anybody. Maekar, Baylor, Aerion. What happens? So that's my predictions. But and I'm curious to see how Dunk's standing is affected after this. We'll see. But yeah, catch me on Twitter, Harris EV9. I cannot wait for next Monday to break down everything about episode 5, the penultimate episode next week already. This show is zooming on by, but I've been loving it. This is peak A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm loving this series so far. So yeah, again, catch me Harris EV9.
Yeah, for me, I think the most excited thing that I'm mostly looking forward to is they've been talking a lot about how George really wanted to get the whole tourney thing right with this show. So they've been hyping up this moment, episode 5, of how they shot it, how it looks, and we've been getting glimpses of that with I believe, what is it, episode 2, that night sequence of them jousting and how dynamic it all looks. So I that's something that I'm really looking forward to. And there are some like classic Game of Thrones twists here and there next week. So I'm excited to hear what people think about that. And yeah, I mean, we'll be here next Monday talking about episode 5. And you can find me at EDG or TEG on all social medias. You can find some of my written work, a lot of clear reviews in the cinema spot. I will be posting my review for Crime 101 sometime this week over there at Loud and Clear Reviews. And you can find this podcast at WHFG Podcast. And I don't know, like, subscribe, rate us on your favorite platform for podcast listening. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.